Hi, good morning, Nancy. How are you?
Good, Keith. How are you?
Good. Welcome to segment 3 of our Cooking with Nancy's Nourishing Kitchen. And this has really been a delight to really help people to eat healthy, no crazy, right?
Absolutely. And we are certainly in crazy times, so it's perfect.
Yeah, these are crazy times. So I'm really excited about this particular segment because we're going to get over and talk about sweets, and we've got some folks joining us. And uh, and
Echo.
if you've got any questions, there's a little button down below, the chat button. Please use that. We'll go ahead and interject those as a part of the show. And if you just so you know, we are recording this and it will be loaded up on the Center for Wellbeing channel as well as the Work Mindfulness channel. And I think, Nancy, you've also got a channel too, right? You've got a,
I do. I have the links all on my website. So every day after our meeting, when you send me the link for people to click on, I then add it to the Center for Wellbeing page on my website. So if somebody's there, they can click there. I know you're loading the recipes, and I'm also have the recipes updated on my site as well. So people
fantastic.
can go to several different places.
Good. And as I said to you before, I'm really excited about this segment because we're going to be talking about sweets. And, you know, I honestly, I'm tired of this sheltering in place thing. And I feel like, as I said this
Okay, I got it
morning,
on people.
I feel like jumping into a big vat of chocolate because, it's just that way. So, challenging times and challenging place. But tell us, Nancy, how can we eat healthy and still have sweets?
There are a few things that we can do to enjoy sweets. First of all, I always like to say there's no such thing as a healthy sweet. There are just healthy-ish sweets. So there are things that we can have other than processed sugar that will satisfy the sweet tooth and be a little healthier in the body. Adding protein and fat to a sweet definitely helps because it provides satiety. It slows down digestion, and you don't get that spike and then crash when you have just a regular sugar.
So protein and fat, you're talking like nuts,
Like
that kind of thing?
nuts. Yep, nuts, nut butter. If you are allergic to nuts, sunflower seed butter is also good. So, that's where you get your protein and fat from.
Now, I don't know about you, but I like nuts, but I also know that, I'm not nuts for nuts, but I think from the beginning, I, like a lot of other people, always thought of nuts as sort of a thing that you might have seen at a party, but you didn't really have a lot of because everyone told you it was fat and you didn't want to get fat. But to hear you talking about mixing it in with some sweets, and the reason why is because of satiety. Can you talk about that a little bit more? What does that mean?
Well, it means you're just not as hungry. You feel full because the fat, and when you have fiber, right, in any kind of a plant or say a dried fruit, like we'll share a recipe later that's got dates in it, it slows down digestion and it makes you feel fuller, as opposed to, we've always mentioned, the eating a sleeve of Oreos or Thin Mints. When you get that straight white flour, white sugar, you digest it super quickly, it spikes your blood sugar, and then you crash. So you never really feel full. It takes you a longer time to digest the fat, and it just eases the blood sugar spike. So it keeps everything kind of even, and you're more satisfied.
So if I understand it correctly, when we have things like dried fruit, or we have things like regular sugar, what happens is there's such a rush on our liver that our liver doesn't really get to go ahead and metabolize it as quickly as possible as needed. So what happens is that turns into fat. Whereas if you mix it in with a fiber like nuts, and it slows down the digestion process, so we're able to feel full longer, not get that peak, but feel full longer, and then obviously not maybe get us fat.
That's pretty much it, basically, in a very simple terms. Your liver processes everything first. It's the playmaker in the body. It just decides what to do with everything. And when there's too much sugar, and it gets a little complicated with, or complex with, insulin and what goes on in the body, but insulin is actually the storage hormone of fat. So if there's so much insulin in the body, which, you know, has to do with the liver, it will store it as fat because there's excess. But when you're digesting slowly, your body is processing all the nutrients, the fiber is slowing down, you're using the fiber in the body. So it's very, very different.
Great. So you've got this kind of workaround where we can have healthy food and at the same point have our cake and eat it too, if you will. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So how do we do that?
Well, first of all, to start very simply, even if you're craving sweets, stay hydrated. That's just the most important thing. So because a lot of times you've heard before, whether you're craving sweets or whether you think you're hungry, have a glass of water first, because sometimes you're dehydrated and you're thirsty and you're not necessarily hungry. So if you're really craving, or there you go, jonesing for something, try to drink a glass of water first and then see if you're really, really hungry. As far as sugar, white sugar is incredibly addicting. So you really want to wean yourself off of it gradually, because it's just going to make you miserable. So if you're used to putting 2 teaspoons of sugar in your coffee, say, or your tea, slowly reduce it. It takes 10 days to reset the palate. So give yourself time. And then after that, you really will notice the sweetness in other foods. I always like to say, kind of crowd out the sugary foods and add more sweeter vegetables, right? I'm all about the vegetables. So I know we're going to get to some treats towards the end, but the good starchy carbs, like the sweet potatoes and winter squash and carrots and beets, all have a sweet taste to them. And after 10 days or so, when you stop getting used to eating the sugar, you really will notice the sweetness in those fruits and vegetables.
That's interesting, because one of the things I've heard about sweet potatoes, and then I researched it. I found that it really is the perfect vegetable in terms of the metabolism, the sweetness of the vegetable, the ability to satiate, the ability to go ahead and keep you full. You can have a sweet potato for lunch and then not feel full, until 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, because it really metabolizes slowly. Lots of vitamins, lots of sugar. And then you're talking about the other stuff. Why is it important to drink, stay hydrated?
Well, water, and it's kind of like a hard question to describe it. When you're dehydrated, for some reason you tend to feel hungry, like you want something. So your brain is composed of water, your muscles are composed of water, your blood vessels need water. So we really need water to survive. We can survive a lot longer without food than we do water. So a lot of times you may feel like you're hungry and you really are just thirsty. And not only will it fill you up, but it just floods your muscles and your organs and your vessels with water. And then maybe you don't have a headache, or you feel a lot better. So staying hydrated is important for all functions of the body.
So the difference between a wilted flower and one that's got water to it is big. And then I heard that we should drink half of our body weight in ounces. So, if you're 200 pounds like me, or actually I'm less than that, but the fact is that that's 100 ounces. That's like 3 liters, or almost 4 liters of water.
Yeah. That's what they say. I mean, for the general population, people look for, a guideline or something. So that's kind of a good guideline to do. I always I always have a glass of water with me. I always fill it. I like to I talk to athletes a lot about hydration. It's like, for athletes, it's the #1 performance enhancer. And we all know those Nalgene bottles that we've seen. So your baseline is like 4 of those a day. And we really, really need it. So they've always say, and it's really true, if you are thirsty, you are already starting to be dehydrated. So you never really want to be thirsty. So don't get hung up on how much to drink. Just always have some water with you.
So 10 days to get rid of 10 days to change your palate. And, and then the whole idea of savoring food, putting it in your mouth. We do a mindfulness program, and we use the raisin exercise. you know, smelling the raisin, putting it on your lips, putting it in your mouth, tasting the raisin, and
Mm-hmm.
savoring the food, which is very,
Yes.
very different than what most people do, which is shovel it, you know, just shovel it down your throat, you know.
Right. Inhale it. So they will say, even here, you know, with being home, you don't have to plate your food restaurant style, but put it on a plate, sit down, don't look at your phone, concentrate on eating, enjoy every bite, chew your food. I'm sure that's very, very much a part of your mindfulness. And it is, it's savor it, it tastes it, you know, when it signals the brain, you know, to start the digestion process in the mouth, and you actually get full quicker than if you're really just inhaling that food. And then even if it's good food, if you inhale a bowl of sweet potatoes, when you're done, you don't even remember eating it.
Right.
That's not good.
Right. So one of the things about getting rid of the sugar is that, you know, sugar is good. So how do you crowd out the sugar? I mean, from a substitute viewpoint, are there really good substitutes that you can use, or?
There are definitely better substitutes. So I've read and heard that white sugar has kind of a one-note taste. So my two favorite sweeteners are real maple syrup or honey. Local honey, if you can find it. And here on Long Island and a lot of other places, it's very easy to find local honey. But you want raw, unpasteurized honey or real maple syrup, you know, not the kind, you know, in the teddy bear bottle in the store that's probably a lot of sugar with honey or maple syrup. They have more than one note. So you will taste the subtleness of each of those sweeteners, and it's going to give more depth to whatever sweet you're eating. So when you cook or use real honey or real maple syrup, it just tastes better, and you savor it slowly. You know, you can eat white sugar galore, but you just can't down a ton of local honey or real maple syrup, and you'll taste the nuances. And there's a little bit of vitamins and minerals in it as well.
Oh, it's interesting that you talk about these notes, because my wife made sweet mashed potatoes, you know, for Easter. And I kept saying to her, did you put vanilla in here? You know, this is really good. And, you know, I mean, they were really, really good sweet potatoes. And no, I just used some maple syrup. So.
Yeah. But then even that, so say you sweet potato with your maple syrup, there are also spices that are sweet spices. So, you know, you think about vanilla is great, cinnamon, cloves. You think about those real warming sweet spices.
Cloves. I mean, you're talking. I've seen them, and I admire them, and I always wonder, what do I do with them?
Throw a little ground cloves into your mashed sweet potatoes. Sprinkle a little cinnamon on it, and it's just going to add another depth of flavor. And if you're getting rid of that one note white sugar, you're going to notice the different nuances in those spices. I like to sprinkle cinnamon on my coffee. That's my one vice I refuse to give up. I absolutely love it. But even if you're drinking black coffee, a sprinkle of cinnamon on it gives it a sweetness that's satisfying, and you just feel very comforting by those spices.
So it sounds like the cinnamon's also a good exit strategy if you're like my son, who likes to have 3 or 4 sugars with his coffee. And you know, and there are a lot of people that are still that way. And do you use sugar as well with your coffee?
No, I'm a black coffee drinker.
Coffee.
So, and I've never put sugar in my coffee, but I do like cinnamon on it. Once in a while, I'll make myself a latte with, say, almond milk or cashew milk, sprinkle a little cinnamon on top, and it's like a dessert to me anyway.
So you've got some spices, you've got some natural sweeteners, and then, you know, I think that's great. But then, you know, what do you do if you still want a little bit more? How do you satisfy that urge? It sounds to me like there's still some Haagen-Dazs or something in the freezer. I'm just wondering what to do.
Well, dark chocolate. I'm a big fan of dark chocolate. It's definitely a great treat. You really want to look for dark chocolate that's, you know, say 70% or higher, maybe 67%. Quality dark chocolate is rich in vitamins and minerals. It's got a lot of powerful antioxidants in it. You really don't need a lot. It's definitely going to be a little more bitter tasting or less sweet than the milk chocolate, which has the dairy and the sugar in it. But I had a chef in culinary school that said he ate a square of dark chocolate every single day.
I just read a report about that. I was going to say, I read a report that it was not only good for your heart, but it was also good for your brain, especially for people who are getting older, that they really need. There was this report that said you should have dark chocolate every day.
Yeah, when I was researching dark chocolate for something else, there were lots of things. So again, I'm not a doctor, so I don't read all those studies in depth. So when I talk about nutrition and food, I don't like to specifically make claims, but yes, I've read they were good for your brain, good for blood pressure, good for your heart, could lower your cholesterol, a whole bunch of other things that doctors have done in studies that it's very easy to find that research. So yeah, dark chocolate is good for you. So.
Oh my God! So it's not only the love dessert, but it's also good for you. I like that. That's
Exactly.
you can't get better than that for sure.
No, and again, it has like you will taste the different notes in dark chocolate as opposed to having, you know, a Hershey's Kiss or something, that's all the really sweet, sweet sugar. So if you take a bite and chew it instead of just shoveling it in your mouth, you really notice the difference. And it's very satisfying.
Now I sent out a notice about today's event, and I love the fact that desserts spelled backwards is stressed, and stressed spelled backwards is desserts,
Mm-hmm.
because that's certainly, I think, what happens. This feeling of wanting to go ahead and just being so frustrated with things, and I think a lot of people can feel that way now. So what about desserts? And these are chocolate, certainly. Are there certain desserts that we can do that don't take forever to cook? Because a lot of times that's like, I want it, but I don't want to cook it.
Right, exactly. It's a process. I mean, there are definitely um, desserts are not healthy, right? So if you think about desserts, they're meant to be tasted and enjoyed, but you really don't eat desserts for their nutritional value. So you will find recipes out there, and I have recipes, for like a chocolate cake that maybe has zucchini in it, or you'll see recipes for sweet potato brownies or black bean brownies. So there's still going to be sugar in them. Like a lot of people will use coconut sugar or maple syrups. So you're not getting that white sugar, but you're not eating that black bean brownie for the black beans, but it's adding the texture. And what it is it's crowding out some of the more refined stuff. But desserts are comforting. We've got sweet on the palate. We're designed to enjoy sweets. So my theory is, or my opinion on a dessert is, if you really want that dessert, enjoy it. Take a bite or two, own it. Don't feel guilty about it, and then move on, because food's good. I always say, like, food's good for our cells and good for our souls. So I've said this story in a couple of events I've done before. My mom makes me, my birthday is in July, and my mom makes me this almond cream puff ring birthday cake every single year. There's nothing healthy about this at all, but it is delicious. I have it once a year, but my 82-year-old mom makes this for me. That's good for my soul. It may not so be good for my cells, and I enjoy every bite of it. And one year we were here and we were celebrating her 80th birthday, and it was around the time of my birthday, and she brought all the ingredients, and we had family here, and we never got to make the cake. So she wanted to leave the ingredients with me, and I said, no, that's not the point. My mom makes me my birthday cake every year. I love it. If there's anything extra, she'll leave it in the fridge and make sure nobody eats it so I can have the leftovers. And I enjoy every bite. Is it good for me? No, but it's good for my soul. And I enjoy it. So embrace desserts that way. Don't beat yourself up too much about it.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because we do a mindfulness eating awareness training kind of program, and it's around savoring food and so on and so forth. But one of the speakers that we have a video on, which is did a TED speak, and they basically said that the problem with diets is that people get so stressed that it actually is counterintuitive. They create cortisol. Cortisol stores fat, and what you really want to do is you really want to enjoy whatever you eat. Really enjoy it. Because at the end of the day, the more you enjoy it and the less stressed you are about it, the more actually you'll digest it and metabolize it. And especially if it's coming with love, so that's
It's funny you said that. I'm just looking at my notes. I don't think I wrote it down. Yeah. So right, the energy, like what I wrote down was the energy you put into your food is going to be reflected in your body. So that's exactly what you're saying. So if you're stressed, those cortisol levels go up, you can gain weight, it's increasing inflammation. But if you're eating and enjoying it, the relaxation of that will decrease the cortisol. So it's funny that you said that, because that was definitely in my notes. It was a point I wanted to bring up. So
Yeah,
right.
well, and I love the fact, 82 years old, she left you the ingredients, but you wanted the cake.
I wanted the cake, but I wanted it from my mom, like me making my birthday cake was not gonna satisfy the good for the soul feeling,
I love that. So having a balanced meal and like really try to balance it out. Now, tell me a little bit about snacks or meals and so on, and how does it all kind of play together? Because sometimes my wife will say to me, I'm just going to have some chocolate and wine tonight, and she'll, and that's sort of like the diet. I forget about dinner. I'm just going straight to the chocolate and wine.
Okay.
That's fine. But it's nice to have and God, I just said that on video. I hope she doesn't watch. She's gonna watch the video, I'm sure.
I've had many of those nights, so
I'm turning red like the back of the thing there.
Yeah, she's gonna get you for this one.
Yeah, I know. That's all right. So tell me, about these balanced meals and then the snacks. I think that's the other thing, is just having snacks, because we all like to snack.
We all like to snack. So again, we'll share some recipes in a second or two, but a balanced meal is what's going to keep you full. It's going to satisfy, it's going to keep you satiated. So I talk all about eating, and it's that trifecta. We've said it before, we'll say it again. It's, the protein, the fat, and the carbohydrate. And the carbohydrates are your fruits and your vegetables, your plants, not your bagels, which is all processed food. But the balanced meals keep everything just what it is, balanced. Your blood sugar is even, you digest slowly, you're hungry. So you can have a snack that's balanced. So my daughter's actually now, a good snack idea is you take an apple and I cut it into rounds, like slices, and then put some nut butter on it, and then sprinkle it with some granola. And now you have a healthy snack. You can throw some of those dark chocolate or the cacao nibs in that granola mix, and you can have a combination of your healthy fat, your protein, and it's sweet, it's crunchy, you're satisfied, and it's really a nice snack. So a snack doesn't necessarily have to mean a bag of chips.
Right, and bag of chips, actually, what you're saying before is because it's simple, it's a simple sugar that will, process through the liver. Your insulin levels will go up, and then that'll turn into fat. Whereas what you're saying here in terms of the apple, because of the fiber, it's the digestion process is slower, so it'll keep you satiated longer.
Absolutely, and that's what the snacking is all about. My daughters are all home, and we were talking at dinner last night about them being bored or walking into the kitchen and just grabbing snacks. And now they're eating healthy snacks, but they're having, rice cakes with avocado and greens on it, or a lot of hummus and stuff, but we're still talking about snacking when not necessarily being hungry. So at least if you're going to do that, especially since we're stuck at home, have something that you can chew, and that will at least keep you fuller for a little bit longer, and you'll probably eat less or reach for the unhealthy snacks less.
Sorry about that little disturbance there. I had something on the desk over here, and by mistake the whole thing went over. It was like paper clips and everything like that. I was like, oh.
I know. I saw your face, and I'm like, do I keep talking? Oh, I'll just keep talking.
Yeah. This is like, it's like going to the barber and the barber says, oops.
Right.
Or the dentist goes, oh no, you definitely don't want to do that. So, but the snacks, keeping the snacks to the apple slices, the butter, the apple, the peanut butter, or is peanut butter good for you, by the way? Is that okay? Or almond butter is much better?
They're different. One's a legume, the peanuts are a legume, almonds are a nut. They're both healthy. They both have fiber. They're both protein. They both have fats in them, good satiating fats, so they're totally fine. The only thing when you're looking for nut butters or peanut butters, you don't want the added ingredients. So you don't want to buy ones with canola oil in it or added sugars. You just want nuts, and that's it. So that's the only difference. You know, if you're going to get some of the brands that have the added oils and sugars in it, those are not healthy. You don't want them. But it's very easy now to find nut butters that are just nuts.
Great. So back to the recipes, you said you'd end up with a couple of recipes or some things, some ideas around that. We're going to load those up on the Center for Wellbeing channel.
Yeah.
And then also, I guess there might be some questions. Again, if you do have any questions, you can put them up in the chat box, or certainly we'll go off camera and folks can ask questions if they like. Perfect.
Yes, we're going to include, I can go quick through them if you like. We're going to add 2 recipes. One I call Energy Bites, and they are made with dates, which is just a dried fruit. It's sweet. You can throw in some cranberries. I always try to look for the fruit juice infused cranberries, not the ones that have sugar. If you don't have cranberries, you can use dried cherries or raisins. Again, all adaptable. Nuts go in there. This one has walnuts in, chia seeds for some more healthy fat. This has peanut butter. If you're allergic to peanuts, you can use sun butter. Everything is just interchangeable, and a little bit of sea salt, and everything is processed in a food processor. I've never done it without a food processor, but I would imagine if you do a lot of chopping by hand and stirring, you can get everything combined. And you scoop them and roll them into little balls and let them set in the refrigerator or freezer. And they freeze really well. I make a batch or 2 at a time and keep them in a bag in the freezer. And they're very easy to pop in. And they're sweet from the dates. So there's no added sugar in here, but yet you have sweetness, you have the chew, you have your healthy fat, and your protein. And they're really great. We go through them by the ton in our house. They're wonderful, and they satisfy that craving. They're rich. You can't eat 12 of them. You know, 1 or 2 is perfect. Right. And then I have a chocolate coconut truffle recipe, if you will. Now again, we talked earlier, it's not Godiva, but it's a healthier version, and it's made with a can of full fat coconut milk. So not the coconut water. You want the coconut milk that separates, and you mix it well. And it's made with dark chocolate, a little vanilla, a little coconut oil. You can throw in some peppermint extract if you like. And then you roll it in either coconut or dark chocolate powder, cocoa powder, or cacao. You can add nuts to it if you like. And again, that's done very easily. It needs to set a little while in the refrigerator, but those also keep well in the freezer. And again, very rich, satisfies that sweet chocolate taste without you wanting to eat a whole entire chocolate bar. So 2 different things that I've shared, but I like to share them because they're little bites. Again, that first bite or 2 is all you really need to satisfy that craving.
So one thing that we talked about before is this whole idea of prep and the whole idea of going into the kitchen. And I think with a lot of folks, they look at a recipe and they kind of go, oh my God, I gotta do, you know, but there's a certain amount of prep time that really has to happen in our heads. So for both of these recipes, how much time do you estimate in terms of actually putting them together? 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or what?
Oh, quick. So the truffles probably take maybe 15 minutes. The longest part of the truffles is letting it set over, you know, a couple of hours. But it really takes just a couple of minutes to get everything together in a double boiler to melt the chocolate, and then maybe another 10 or 15 minutes to roll them into balls when you're done. So that's not long. The dates, the same thing. You do a little bit of, for the energy bites, a little bit of chopping, but everything comes into the food together in the food processor in just a matter of minutes. And depending on how fast you're rolling, it could only take another 10 minutes. So I would say maybe 20 minutes for each of these recipes. They do not take long at all.
And I like dates. I like the idea of using dates because often, you know, you'll look at them, the pitted dates, certainly, you'll look at them in the store, you kind of go, okay, you know, they look nice, you know, but what do I do? You know, so you wind up getting prunes or
Right.
something like that, you know.
Right.
So this really looks very good, and I'm very excited about making some of this stuff.
I have to say they really, really are easy. Another thing about dates, just a date with a little bit of nut butter on it is also another great snack.
Mm.
So you're getting that sugar from the dried fruit, and you can't eat 15 dates. Like, you really get full. So one or two with some of that nut butter, and again, peanut butter, almond butter, sunflower seed butter, cashew butter, has your protein, your fat, your fiber. There's your happy trifecta.
That's great, and certainly during this time of you know, sheltering in place, we need more dates.
We do need more dates.
More dates. Oh boy. Okay.
Ba-dum-bum.
So moving right along, I guess we're close to the end of the segment, but this has been really great, I think, in terms of just kind of a review. One of the things I heard is stay hydrated. Make sure you reset your palate, right?
Yes.
Then also crowd out the sugar, get rid of the sugar, slow that down. Use some natural sweeteners, you know, like maple syrup and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And then the spices. Look at dark chocolate. It's good for you. It's healthy.
Mm-hmm.
We want that. Desserts are certainly meant to be tasted and enjoyed. So, you know, try to use some of the healthy ones. You gave us two wonderful examples. And then eat a balanced meal, you know, just sort of balance it out. And I think if you stay hydrated, you'll be less hungry also between times. And then
Absolutely.
have some nice snacks. And then you gave us some great snack ideas with apple slices, nut butter, and then some real original stuff. So we've got time for a couple of questions. Does anyone have a question that they'd like to ask? And we'll put you on camera. Okay. I'm going to unmute you, Phil. Go ahead.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi, Phil.
I love your episodes with Keith. You two do such a great and wonderful job. I'm learning so much, especially, I guess I'm a carbohydrate and sugar addict, and I'm weaning off, and it's not going to go away too fast. But I was wondering, I have a nice fresh pineapple in my refrigerator, and I want to put something on it. Would you go with peanut butter, or is that too much of a contrast?
It's personal taste, so I would give it a shot, to tell you the truth. That's
Anything you could recommend that might blend better?
You know, you know what, I just want to interject something. You know what I like, Phil, really, it sounds strange, but I like for lunch taking a sweet potato and then putting in pineapple on top of the sweet potato. And it's absolutely wonderful. I mean, it's a great add to a sweet potato. But then pineapple itself is a savoring for me. I just like putting it in my mouth and savoring it very slowly as a snack or as an item. But Nancy, I interjected. You were about to say something. I'm sorry.
We eat pineapple straight up. So I've never paired it with anything. You can obviously put it in a salad. So if you've got a salad with a bunch of greens and some protein, whether it's fish or chicken or whatever your protein, and then a bunch of nuts, and it will add that kind of sweetness to your salad. I would eat just straight up pineapple and maybe have a handful of nuts in addition to it. But I've never had it with a nut butter on it. But even if you have a couple of almonds or cashews while you're eating your pineapple, you're getting your fiber from the pineapple, but your fat and your protein from the nuts, which will kind of slow down that blood sugar spike.
And then the other thing we did, Phil, was we used pineapple in a dish with some peppers and onions, and actually it wound up, you know, with what do we have? We had I did a tofu tempeh thing and did peppers, onions, and then threw in some pineapple. Oh my goodness, it was, and you know, you cook the pineapple. It was just so good cooked. It's
I've
unbelievable.
always had the pineapple as a standalone, and just because of its wonderful taste. And in this time of isolation, we've been saving that pineapple for a special occasion. And We're gonna have it either tonight or tomorrow, and I like the idea of putting it with a salad. Oh, that sounds wonderful.
Right, because think about in the summer, we'll have salads when the peaches are really ripe and delicious, and you just need to cut up a peach. Or even in the fall with apples, if you throw a little bit of fruit on a salad, you get that different texture, and then you'll get, the tang maybe from the dressing and the green, but the sweet from the fruit. And I think it'll really satisfy you.
I'll keep the peanut butter for the apples.
I was just going to say, Nancy, your salad bowl idea was great. And I throw some fruit in there with some nuts, and you top it off with a little hummus or some, as you were talking about before, just lovely. I like that idea. But now the pineapple, we've got some in the fridge. I think I'm going to use some of that for lunch. So.
Right. And remember, pineapple, it has all that fiber. So even if you're having it straight up, you're totally fine with it. But if you do try it with the nut butter, let me know.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to try the apples with the nut butter.
Yeah, you'll like that. Actually, I don't know if you guys are on Instagram, and I can actually even just give the recipe, Keith, to you too. I make a homemade granola, but I had posted a picture of those apples with the nut butter and then the granola sprinkled on top. So it's a good snack. My girls eat stuff like that all the time, so it's very satisfying.
If you send me your Instagram link, we'll make sure we put it up on the Center for Wellbeing channel. So
Okay, I'll do that.
Along with the recipes. I think Patty has a question. I'm going to put you on mute. Phil, go ahead, Patty.
I'm unmuted. I had to get dressed. I didn't want you to see me in my pajamas. But I took you wherever I was. I wanted to just say that I use the crock pot to make steel cut oatmeal overnight, and that's where I put in cardamom, I put in cloves, and a lot of cinnamon. In the Dominican Republic, I went there, and that's their oatmeal. They use sugar too, I think, but if you just use those spices and put it in a crock pot, then I have oatmeal for the whole week.
I think that's a fantastic idea. And I'm glad you mentioned cardamom. That's another really warming, sweet spice. So that's a great addition. I love that idea.
Great. And
I love your ideas, and I thank you, Nancy. I thank you and Keith very much. I've really been enjoying these.
Oh, Patty, thank you. And thank you, Phil, too. It's great talking to you guys.
Great. So the question now, Nancy, with 2 minutes left is, what do we talk about next week? On our next segment?
Oh, I know. I have diabetes.
Okay.
And I can't have dried fruit. I usually don't have granola. Every morning I do put flaxseed and chia seeds and in my oatmeal, and that's satisfying. I don't need anything sweet. But yeah, how about some snacks besides carrots and celery for diabetes?
I made a note. I'm going to do a little research for you. I'll go through all my stuff. That would be great.
Thank you. Because I need snacks, but I'm trying to stick to 1 square of dark chocolate a day, but sometimes I need a morning and nighttime.
I understand.
Square.
Yeah, I think we all do. And diabetes is a whole nother thing. The one good thing about dark chocolate is it doesn't have that high sugar content. So it's...
Especially if you stick to a square.
Right, not the bar.
So getting the triglycerides down, continuing on with some healthy foods, and then getting the ability to go ahead and the insulin levels down, I think is really great. And I think moving forward, we're going to do the next segment next week. That will move us into segment 4. As a takeaway, we'll go ahead and put the recording up on the Center for Wellbeing site. Do you want to leave us with any words of wisdom, Nancy? I'm putting you on the spot with this one, but any words of wisdom as we go forth towards the weekend?
Do not beat yourself up. I think we all want to be healthy, eat healthy. We're all very frustrated. We're, week 5, 6 going into this. Do not beat yourself up. Enjoy the moment, enjoy your family, enjoy your friends, whether it's via Zoom or not. And if you're snacking, if you go off the rails, don't freak out about it. So that's just don't beat yourself up. That's my words of wisdom. Small changes over a long period of time make a big difference. So, enjoy the moment because we're really stuck. So that's my theory this week.
Fantastic. On that note, I'm going to say goodbye. I'm going to end the recording now. And thank you.